Who are the more underrated players on Georgia's 2023 roster? That is the question that I have for you today. I've got a few in mind that I'm going to talk about. But first, everyone knows that Georgia probably has the most talented, deepest roster in college football right now. If it's not them, it's Alabama or Ohio State. But you can make the argument it's Georgia. But still, there are quite a few under-the-radar players who have the ability to have a monster breakout year in 2023 and become more of a national name. Now, Georgia fans probably know who these guys are, but in my mind, these guys are still pretty underrated, right? And still flying under the radar from a national perspective. And the first guy I want to talk about is Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, entering his fourth season in the program, was part of that 2020 class. A big physical guy, about 6'2", around 200 pounds. He's a willing blocker on the perimeter, opens up a lot of running lanes on the outside, but he's also a strong, reliable option in the passing game. Last year, caught 29 passes for 337 yards, 2 touchdowns. One was an incredible catch against Tennessee under the goalpost, one of the best catches that any Georgia receiver had all season long. He also had a big catch against Georgia Tech. But when the ball goes to Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, good things happen. We saw his incredible, twisting catch against LSU where he's running one way, the ball was slightly behind, he turned around and made an incredible catch. But the guy knows how to catch the football. And when he's involved, good things happen. He can run a good route for a guy his size. And I know he wasn't A.D. Mitchell. He's not Ladd McConkey. He's not Dom Lovett. And I don't think he's going to be above Ra Thomas when the season starts. Probably right now he is, but that's a guy he's going to have to fight off. But I would like to see Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint see more balls come his way because he is a better receiver than people think. And I think he has the size and the ball skills and the toughness to possibly play at the next level. So he's definitely a guy who I think is still flying under the radar, even though he's been in the program for 4 years. Definitely a guy who I would like to see get more opportunities next year. Going on to the defensive side of the ball, Nazir Stackhouse, right? It's been tough for him to really break out playing behind guys like Jordan Davis, Devonta Wyatt, Jalen Carter, but Nazir Stackhouse is someone that I've been high on for a long time. I saw him play multiple times in high school. We got to know him really well. Just a great human being. Always has a positive attitude. He works hard. He loves practice. And this year has an opportunity to be the best player on the interior of Georgia's defensive line. Maybe not on the edge, but if we're talking inside guys, this could be Nazir Stackhouse's year to really prove that he can play at the next level. And I think he can. He's about 6'4", 300 pounds, moves really well, had 33 tackles last year, which is a solid number for someone playing on the interior. Usually those guys are eating up blocks, letting the linebackers come in and finish up making the tackle. But 33 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and that big block kick against LSU in the SEC championship game, one of the biggest plays of the year because that went from LSU being up, 3-0 to Georgia being up 7-0 after the Chris Smith return for a touchdown. So that was a 10-point, swing, 10-point play off that block kick. So always been a fan of Nazir Stackhouse, and I always thought that if he were able to shine without those guys playing beside him or in front of him on the depth chart, that he would be someone that people really, noticed and would learn more about. So he was another guy in that 2020 class. This is his 4th year in the program. He's one of the leaders on this defense, especially on the defensive line. I think this year is his time to really break out and show what he's capable of doing. So I think he's going to be one of the better players on the defensive line this year, at least from a productivity standpoint. But right now, from a national perspective, he's still flying under the radar. Might not be that way for too much longer. Staying on the defensive side of the ball, hard to call this guy under the radar because he started all 15 games last year, but kind of overshadowed by guys like Keely Ringo and Chris Smith and Malachi Starks and Javon Bullard in the secondary, and it's Kamari Lassiter. If you've seen my videos before, you know how high I am on him. Had a rough day against Marvin Harrison Jr., as everyone does, against Ohio State, but that's about the only, rough game that he had all last year. He is a strong, physical tackler. If you're trying to run a screen or a quick pass on his side of the field, he is going to shed the block and he's going to make a play and he's going to strike you and he's going to leave a bruise. And there are not a lot of cornerbacks that bring that type of physicality and that willingness to hit and strike and tackle in the open field like Kamari Lassiter does. Just ask Kentucky. what he's able to do against the run or against these quick passes on the outside. He's going to come down and he's going to pop you. That's just what he does. He's good in coverage. I think maybe one or two times outside of the Ohio State game, he got beat deep. I think one was against South Carolina, but the coverage was there. He didn't, get beat. He didn't get toasted down the field. He was right there, had good, solid coverage. Better throw by the quarterback, Spencer Rattler, and I forgot who caught the ball, but he knows what he's doing. He's technically sound. Loved him after talking with this high school coach when I was covering him. Spoke with this high school coach on the phone for like 30 minutes one day, and I was all in on Kamari Lassiter after that. I knew he had big time potential. Now, I didn't know he would play every game as a freshman, and I did not know that he would start every game in just his second season, but he's a big deal, and he's a guy who I think is going to play at the next level and still kind of flying under the radar from a national perspective. Georgia fans should know all about him. If you don't, you're just a casual, because he did play a lot. He made a lot of plays last year. 38 tackles, 5 tackles in the win over Tennessee, 2 big tackles for loss against Kentucky, played well against LSU. He knows how to cover. He's got size. He's tough, man. He is a tough dude, and that's what the staff really liked about him in high school. Didn't play against the best competition in high school, but he was clearly the best player on the field at all times. And, he fought off and climbed past Nyland Green on the depth chart to earn that starting nod. Opposite of Keely Ringo. Last year we talked about who is going to replace Darian Kendrick. Well, it was Kamari Lassiter, and he did a very good job last year. So even though he is a full-time starter, he's still a guy that I think needs more recognition and deserves more credit for what he's done. And I think he's in for a massive, massive season as Georgia's top cornerback going into next year. I think opposite, it's going to be another, fight. Nyland Green's going to have to try to earn that job. He's got to fight off Dalen Everett, who is probably going to be the opposite cornerback right now, if I had to guess. But Kamari Lassiter is a very good cornerback and someone who I think is going to have a monster year and then play, multiple years in the NFL. I firmly believe that. On the offensive line, Austin Blaske, former 3-star from the Savannah area, probably the most versatile offensive lineman on the roster. He would be a starting offensive lineman in just about every SEC program. I feel confident saying that. He is very good, 6'5", 310, full of muscle, a sleeper for the left tackle job. I think he is the backup center. I think he's probably the best guy on the offensive line as far as snapping the ball. It's tougher to do than people think. He's got it down pat. He can play tackle, guard, center, and he's just waiting for his opportunity. Plenty of, big-time offensive linemen in front of him, right? But if Georgia needs to play him, if someone goes down and they put Austin Blaske in there, no matter where it's at, I expect him to do very, very well. And he's a guy that Georgia fans may not know a ton about because he has been a second stringer. But when he's in there in these blowout games where Georgia fans are already celebrating the victory, doing whatever they're doing, not really focused on the second unit and what they're doing. But if you pay close attention, Austin Blaske is putting guys on their butt. He's opening running lanes. He's a good pass protector. He really is a solid overall offensive lineman who can do everything you ask of him. Again, if there's an emergency situation at center, I expect Austin Blaske to be there. If Ernest Green doesn't blow away the staff and they want to put Amarius Mims still locking down that right side at right tackle, Austin Blaske could be the guy at left tackle. So I like his game. He's tough, physical, gritty, just does his job. I thought that he might be someone who enters the transfer portal because he could start at just probably 95% of college D1 programs out there would love to have this guy on the roster because you can play him anywhere. And again, he's got size. He's tough and physical. That's probably my favorite part about him. Not only his versatility, but he will get in your grill and put you on the ground. Love everything about him. It's crazy to me that, he's patient. He is sitting back, waiting for his opportunity. And when it comes, I expect him to do very, very well. Honorable mentions, right? Dylan Bell at wide receiver, maybe the best route runner on the team other than Ladd McConkey. Dom Lovett, want to see more of him in a Georgia uniform before. I say he's better, but Dylan Bell can run around and get open, and he's got plenty of muscle for his size. Could have a big sophomore season, but still a lot of receivers, a lot of weapons, only one football. Zion Logue on the defensive line, been there forever now. He's part of that 2019 class. just consistently does his job, eats up blocks for everyone else, just does the job that goes unnoticed. But he does his job consistently every play. Lot of experience to the table. He's better than people think. Chaz Chambliss, also a guy better than people think. Better pass rusher than people think. He's starting to show that he can get after the quarterback and deliver a big hit. He may not look like Nolan Smith or have the length or size that maybe Marvin Jones Jr. does at outside linebacker, but Chaz Chambliss knows how to play. He knows what he's doing, and he's better than people think. Dylan Fairchild, another offensive lineman who I think could be starting at most SEC programs and a lot of other D1 programs. They'd love to have this guy. Probably one of the top three, maybe. I wouldn't say he's outside of the top five as far as strongest, pure strength, strongest guys on the team. Dylan Fairchild is one of them. Big, physical, tough interior lineman, and I think if they had to put him in there on the inside at guard, he would do just fine. He's better than people think, although he's still kind of in a reserve role. Love him, not because he lived down the street from me over here in beautiful Forsyth County. I got to know him very well throughout his high school career. Pulling for him, always love to see him out there in a backup role, but he's better than people think. And Andrew Paul, too, once he gets healthy at running back, I think he is going to really shine. Just another tough, big tackle-breaking guy who can keep the chains moving and runs pretty well at 220 pounds. When he's healthy, I think Georgia fans are going to love that guy. So just a few under-the-radar guys to keep an eye on. We'll see how far these guys can climb the depth chart in the spring, but if they're given an opportunity in the fall, and guys like Nazir Stackhouse and Kamari Lassiter absolutely will, because they're going to be starting, but if Marcus Roseby-Jackson sees more passes come his way, he's going to take full advantage of it. Faustin Blasky sees more time on the offensive line, maybe in a starting role if someone goes down or if he just wins the job. I think Georgia fans are going to be really, really happy with what they see from him. So who do you think is still flying under the radar on Georgia's roster? Who do you think has a chance to have a monster breakout season in 2023? Let me know in the comment section. Always appreciate y'all watching these videos. Hope you learned something. If you did, I just hope you enjoyed the video. We've got a lot of stuff coming on Dog Post and on the site right now. Make sure you go check it out, and I'll see you over on the website.